I'm Donald Moffat.
And I'm Heather Menzies. Logan's Run will not be on tonight.
But stay tuned for the Charlie Brown special and the Fat Albert Halloween special.
And we'll be back next Monday night.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Hi, I'm Alex Ross, and I'm doing my first CGC signing this year. It will be the exclusive way to get my signature, and submissions are limited, so please send in your books now.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for another Trek Watch. We decided in between new Trek seasons, we would look at some of our favorite, maybe Berman-era Trek and the original series as well. So we're going back to the second pilot, not the Cage, but and I think it was I want to say the third or fourth episode of the run. Was there three? Thank you, Wayne. Where No Man Has Gone Before. There they are in their velour. Nice collars. I'm here. Franco's here, and Wayne is here, and Mitch is on assignment. Mitch is on an away mission, so he will not be joining us tonight. So, hi Langley, hi Chris, hi everybody else that's watching, and excited to talk about. I think this is an interesting episode. I mean, obviously, we all know the story that NBC did not like The Cage, but liked the concept enough that they commissioned a second pilot, which is kind of amazing. It's pretty unprecedented in television even today. So it was a big deal, and this is the one that worked, and it still was rough in a lot of ways, but I think I like it. It is one of my favorite TOS episodes. What do you guys?
Should we give people time out there to watch it before we start talking about it?
Yeah, why don't you everybody come back in an hour, and we'll still be here. No, we mentioned it last week. Yeah, I honestly, it's fun to watch because of all the little differences. The uniforms are different. We have Dr. Piper instead of McCoy. Sulu is an astrophysicist.
Yeah.
And is not the helmsman. And we have Lee Kelso at the helm, but not for long because damn you, Gary.
Yeah.
He should have been wearing a red shirt.
Well, he's a fool, though. He's a fool. So
who is Kelso?
Lee, yeah.
Why?
Because Mitchell calls him that when he's in bed and he comes in to see him. When he comes in to check on him.
Oh, that's right.
Leaves, he calls him a fool. He's a fool.
That's right, because he knows that the component that he was working on is about to blow up.
Yeah, the Johnson rod. Yeah.
There you go.
Seinfeld reference. You don't get it. When they don't know the car parts in the engine. Oh yeah, the Johnson rod. You know, that's me. That's me in the parts of the Enterprise. I like Star Trek. I like the ship. I just don't know all the parts.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Lee does kind of look and sound like Trip a little bit. Louise, I'm with you.
Maybe it's him. Maybe they brought him back.
Langley says I think both this and The Cage are fascinating, especially in the context of when it aired. It is weird that they didn't start with this. They started with the man trap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reasons, I don't know. And again, maybe the consistency with they wanted to establish the newer uniforms first, and then they didn't mind throwing back and showing this. But I know Corbomite Maneuver was also an early episode. They pushed that all the way to episode 10. And Charlie X and Man Trap and this. I think those were the four that they were considering about what would be the first episode. And I'm really Sano Peoples wrote this episode. Fine science fiction writer, fine Western writer too, by the way. But among other things that he wrote, ironically, he wrote that Saturday morning show, Space Academy, with the great Dr. Smith.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Oh dear.
I'm the commander. You should listen to me. But I and this shows again that they had great original science fiction writers that were coming from real science fiction backgrounds as opposed to the crap we get today.
Man.
Well, you can link one of the things is what we said about Spock is true. I found he just yelled through this episode. A lot of yelling. And I think this is where Lower Decks got the whole idea of yelling. They took it from No, they had to, because that's all Spock does is yell.
So they figured they would imbue that in every character in Lower Decks.
Exactly, because they're going as Spock did, and then he survived 2 pilots.
He also smiles at the beginning when they're playing chess.
And it's his relative that married a human female. A human female.
Yes.
I caught that too, yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to admit that Dad married a human.
Yeah, his dad was shagging on the human side. Maybe he didn't want to admit it. I agree with Johnny. That's not something you bring up in conversation over chess.
Have I ever told you play a very irritating game of chess, Mr. Spock?
So what were you guys telling me before, that you have to play it viewing it from above?
Yeah, because if you look at the way the game is supposed to be played, the platforms slant downwards, so that where the positioning of the pieces, they can only move in certain ways based on looking at how the 3 platforms line up.
I haven't had trouble playing just regular chess.
Yeah, exactly. I felt the same way. It's like I never, as cool as the 3D chessboard was. It's like, you don't have to.
Oh yeah, it looks. It would take a while to learn how to play it properly.
I think that's one of the weirdest things that someone spent a lot of time on. Like, after watching this show, they're like, all right, I'm going to figure out how to play this game and write a whole bunch of rules so that people can play it. I think the only more thing that was a waste of time was the Klingon dictionary, possibly. But I'm thinking those are the 2 things that are like, wow, somebody spent a lot of time on these.
That's my favorite part of the Trekkies documentary, is when we sit in on a Klingon language session with the teacher and the class and stuff. And then I forget what verb they're conjugating, things like that. And also, you ever see the Zach Braff? Was it Zach Braff? Garden State?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When
Natalie Portman.
Yeah, and but Gene Smart's boyfriend is Peter, the guy who played the bad guy in the Green Lantern movie. Peter Peter Skarsgård or something.
Yeah.
Peter Skarsgård is really into. Or no, it's not. It's not him. He's Gene Smart's son, and Gene Smart is dating a guy like Peter's age, and the guy's really into Star Trek. And I forget what Klingon word he puts out there, and he goes, "What's that?" He goes, "Well, loosely translated, it means death to Kirk, but it kind of fits the moment." It's like, great, there you go. Death
and Langley, if you do want your 3D chess set, I saw them at GameStop.
They actually have them to sell them at the.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
There he goes. Boy, he's even speaking Klingon to us.
Wow.
Nice.
Hey, Langley, if it's too expensive now, you could probably start a GoFundMe or something if you want. Possibly.
I would rather. All right, of the games, what's Stratagem? Is that the game that Data plays against the arrogant guy?
Yeah, that's right.
I like that game. And then, of course, there's Domjot. Play Domjot, human.
What's the
And Parisi Squares is where Riker's dad cheats, beats the hell out of Riker.
What's on was that the Ferengi game on Deep Space Nine?
Dabo.
Dabo. Yeah.
Dabo.
It looked like roulette.
And poker.
Yeah. And poker. Everybody still plays poker.
Yeah.
That's true. as we know, it comes into play in the Corbomite maneuver as well. But all right, so yeah, basics of the show. They get essentially the equivalent of the black box from the SS Valiant, which was lost by the Great Barrier nearly 100 years ago.
Wasn't the Valiant just destroyed in a Pickard episode too, or no? With all those, did they mention the Valiant at all?
I don't know, because I don't know if the Valiant necessarily was a Starfleet ship, and I always thought it was more of a kind of a service freighter ship and not part of Starfleet, but I could be wrong. But it starts, they hook up the black box to the ship's computers, and they find that obviously something happened when the Valiant went through the Great Barrier. It's interesting. This isn't the only appearance of the Great Barrier. It's also in that episode where the group of aliens come through the Great Barrier from the other side, and they try to commandeer the.
And they can transform you into the cube.
Yep. So it's weird. Now they obviously didn't have the same ESP thing that happened to the Valiant's crew and the Enterprise, obviously as well.
Wasn't there that other ship that went through that and the crew came away with powers? Wasn't it Reed Richards and Sue Storm?
Oh, that was the cosmic race.
No, it's not the cosmic race.
Yeah, it was a cosmic race.
Maybe they just call it different on our Earth.
Langley, although I understand, Langley, we talked about this off the air last week, that the Excelsior was destroyed in Picard, which was Elnor's ship too. So savage. However, Terry Metalis is on record in social media saying that Elnor was not on the Excelsior.
You guys were going nuts, and I'm like, maybe he just called in sick that day. And he wasn't on the show.
No, my point was that they didn't acknowledge it on the show. You morons had to give me well, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. And
I just said he was an inconsent. He was just a useless character that they couldn't care less.
Well, again, they make a big deal about diversity and inclusion and everything. And Elnor is and forgive me, folks, I don't know the proper term for the race, but he's I'm going to say Polynesian, but he's from the Cook Islands originally, and then he went to Australia. So I don't know.
And then he became a Vulcan.
Yes, Romulan. But maybe he just called in sick that day. I'm serious. Everybody's nuts. If we get a Star Trek Legacy movie, maybe he's going to be on
Return to
the
Elnor.
ship. Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
But I know we went back.
So this all brings up a question for me. What other episodes in Star Trek have we seen with ESP powers that display this way? Because he was moving cups, and he was moving the digital things on the medical screens, and he was flipping buttons from rooms away. Scotty was like, buttons were being pushed.
Even on Delta Vega, he
used the
strangles Kelso with the cables.
Yeah.
So
is that what strangled Lee? I thought.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was him. I thought.
Oh yeah.
Wires.
The Medusa episode had the ESP issue factor, but it was more like communication.
That's right.
Because the woman was jealous of Spock because he has ESP capabilities, and she didn't want the Medusan to. Hey, I think I'm switching partners.
Miranda Jones, I believe.
Didn't Spock use the on that episode? And forgive me because I never know the names of the episodes. I was telling these guys before, I didn't know that this one was where no man had gone before. I didn't know that was the name of the episode until it started playing, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's this one. When they're on the planet where they're at war with the other planet, and the people voluntarily go to suicide booths or whatever.
Fist of Armageddon.
Yeah. Again, I don't know the names. Didn't Spock do a between he was in the they were in a room, and he was feeling the wall because the guard was on the other side, and he
sure
made him turn and open.
Also,
Professor X'd him.
Yeah.
Plato's Stepchildren as well, which is that kind of Greek or Roman society of telekinetic aliens. And that's the one with Michael Dunn, the little person who was Dr. Lovelace in Wild Wild West. Alexander is his name. And they have telekinetic ESP powers in that one.
I think in the 60s, ESP was really cool.
Oh, yeah. No, that was one of those kind of future shock, what they were figuring it out. There's that episode of The Prisoner that gets into ESP even and stuff. So, yeah, Langley is right. Plato's Stepchildren is the episode where Kirk and Uhura kiss, much to the chagrin of Louisiana and other fine southern states. He did what? He kissed who? I'll be goddamn if we're going to show that on TV. Get that Bob Hope special running.
He kissed the spaceman?
He did what? That's where Spock sings that fine song, Bitter Dregs. Good stuff. Better that than the Bilbo Baggins song he sings. Bilbo. But all right, back to this. We get Gary Mitchell for only one episode, I think, is an impactful character because he kind of is the guy that it seems, based on the conversations they have, that turned Kirk into more of the man that he became.
Okay, but what was the whole thing with him holding the hand of the yeoman?
Yeah, I saw that too.
So he has his hand behind him holding the yeoman. And how do you steer the ship with just one hand? Don't you need two to press the buttons?
I think, well, speaking to Johnny's point, I think that kind of plays into Jim's character, that he's kind of like a womanizer type person. So, like, this was his best friend of 15 years. And they talk about that thing in college that, he set him up or something like that,
Yeah. He's like, he goes, he was a stack of books with legs before he piloted that little redhead or whatever she was his direction. And he's like, you did that? I almost married her.
Right. That's right.
And is that Carol Marcus? Is that from the Shore Leave episode? Is that Ruth? I love Ruth. And I just love the way he says Ruth. Very, very meekly.
You know what I just realized in this instance, when you were going over, like, who is that? Is that Carol Marcus? Is that about? I realized that we are losers because we are we're diving into this way too deep about who is that? And I think we just need to do other podcasts about other subjects, possibly.
Gee, that's what these shows do. Dumbass. My God. Chris says, and I didn't know this, Gary also recently showed up in the prequel to the current IDW Star Trek comic. Well, I do remember when John Byrne was taking photos of original series episodes and turning them into new stories. He had a sequel to Where No Man Has Gone Before, where Gary survived and attacked again. Oh. So that was interesting. But Michael Jan Friedman, who I've gotten to know a bit in the last couple of years, he wrote a great 3-novel set called My Brother's Keeper, and it all revolves around Kirk having to write the letter to Gary's parents that he died, and it's making him think back to the Republic, the Constitution, I think was one of the ships, and I forget what the third ship was, but they served together for 15 years over the years and stuff. And also they hint in Where No Man Has Gone Before that Kirk was teaching at the academy, which is kind of interesting, before he got his captaincy. So, yeah, I think, Langley, you might be right. It might be the Farragut. I don't know. But
I thought Langley was swearing for a second.
Oh, I guess in IDW, they did an episode of TOS in the Kelvin universe, and it was an interesting comic. Okay. Langley says that he believes that it was retconned to be Carol Marcus. I don't remember ever officially hearing that. Again, I think Ruth is as much of a possibility as Carol Marcus, but okay, whatever. That's interesting. Louise says he's kind of a little off target, but he's worried about Trek comics with IDW today. I wouldn't be worried. I think they're selling really well. I don't know. I'm going to be talking to Jackson and Colin, who are writing the main Star Trek comic. And I think it's going to be fun. And I think Heather Antos is doing a good job So I don't know. I don't know who was on the chopping block. I know IDW lost some people and stuff. Artie. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Good to see Artie. So anyway, yeah, so, they go through the Great Barrier. That's going to be a big thing. Gary Mitchell is holding the yeoman's hand, the hot yeoman's hand, the blonde, who's not Yeoman Rand.
After he calls Sally Kellerman a cold fridge.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true. Sally Kellerman.
Hot Lips from the MASH movie.
Among other great movies and TV that Sally Kellerman did over her life. Great actress. I'm a big fan. And she's great in this as Dr. Danner. But they go through the barrier. She and Gary get zapped. I guess 7 or 9 other Enterprise crewmen die. That also were ESP sensitive. Yeah. But yeah, so and then of course Danner seems fine, and then they go to Gary, and Gary's got the glowing eyes, which apparently were very uncomfortable contact lenses.
They looked like it, like when they were doing close-ups of him, like he had like red ring, like you look at it and like, oh man, that must have hurt.
Yeah, because it would have been glass contacts back then.
Yeah, they looked kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, it does.
Oh, it's a great effect. No, it's a fantastic effect. But yeah, so then of course he's in sickbay, kind of recovering, and that's when his brain starts really getting active. And he's a guy never really bothered about reading, and now all of a sudden he's reading everything in the ship's library, which concerns them. Didn't I tell you you're supposed to take good care of me?
Yeah. And then they jump to the conclusion that they need to kill him.
Well, Spock bloodthirsty.
Spock
thirsty.
Yeah.
Kill him, like, Jim. Kill him now.
He's got to go.
I like when they're down on the planet and Scotty says, "Hey, did you get the rifle I sent down?" And Jim's like, "Oh, what are you talking? Oh, wait a minute. Okay." Spock comes in and goes, "Yeah, I got it right here."
He said, "But Dr. Dennis says we shouldn't kill him." She's looking at him with emotion. She's got the hots for him, dumbass.
Okay,
I don't. Die. Kill him.
Here's something that sort of plays out a little later. She's all about the human race and superhumans. Like, if you listen to her conversation, it sounds like she's into eugenics.
Well, she's saying that evolution
but
yeah, because we could do this a lot faster than humans can ever reach to it. Like,
well, she's saying, hey, maybe he's becoming something better. And that's why she's like, no, we should, obviously let him.
But the eugenics war, they should remember all that, even though it hasn't started yet.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, Wayne.
Yeah.
But I think the eugenics war is by design and specifically trying to manipulate. Gary and Danner are already ESP sensitive, and this tapped into it, but I don't know.
No, I just again, it's because it's just the pilot. But for them to it's like Dr. Dr. Sung, who had the Khan project, besides the other cloning project in Picard. That this is something that they said, we don't like eugenics. But again, it was the pilot, so they didn't flesh out all the backstory of what happened with Earth and everything. But it was just interesting to see. You see something like that and going, hey, that sort of contradicts Starfleet's later ideals about enhancements, even evolution.
Well, there were obviously, it was an early episode, so they obviously had a bunch of different, like that big thing that comes up on the side of Kirk's chair, like, that he speaks into. I'm like, what? Where did that thing come from? What? Good thing they got rid of that.
If you go back and watch the
lamp that he had, yeah.
If you go back to watch The Cage, everybody had one on their console.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it is hilarious.
I gotta watch these again. And then also, why did they get rid of those uniforms? Like, the turtleneck,
the velour.
Yeah, the velour turtlenecks were kind of styling.
I don't know.
They might have been hot because they looked really thick.
Yeah,
thick,
fat, PHAT. Yeah,
I don't know. But the also there's also the other little differences, like when they're on Delta Vega and Gary creates the grave and tombstone for Kirk. Mm-hmm. It's James R. Kirk, not James T. Kirk. That's another little wrinkle of difference. I like Dr. Piper. I was reading about him and trying to figure out what happened. Apparently, Roddenberry, as early as The Cage, wanted DeForest Kelley to be the Doctor. I don't know what happened where he wasn't available for the first one, and we got John Hoyt as Dr. Boyce. But they all seemed dissatisfied with Paul Fix, the actor who played Dr. Piper's performance. They thought he was a little too low key, but also both Roddenberry and Samuel Peoples said, he's just too old to be in that capacity of a ship, and they wanted to convey that every one of the crew was capable of hand-to-hand combat should they need to do it. But certainly Dr. Piper would be like, yeah, all right,
I can do it.
Somebody hit that Klingon for me, will you? I'm busy. Exactly. I got to sit down.
Yeah. The other thing I found cute was when they dropped out of warp, they're saying neutralize the drive.
I like that.
Again, just little different phrasings.
Sure.
Through it.
Oh my God.
I wonder what the conversations were. Like, I wonder if they sat down like this and they're like, yeah, neutralize just didn't sound right. We got to come up with something else, or you know what I mean?
God, I'm glad we said it. I disagree with him. He thinks Scotty looked older in this episode. I didn't think so.
Well, Scotty looks the same.
He wasn't wearing red, so the color didn't quite.
Yeah, it wasn't
out his
flattering.
Looks.
Yeah.
All right. Chihiro says, I bet Kirk wishes he was friends with Frank Poole instead of Gary Mitchell. Do we know the Frank Poole reference, Wayne and Franco?
No, Mitch would. Why isn't Mitch here? He would.
Yeah, that's from 2001 Space Odyssey. Because it's the same person.
That is correct. Absolutely. And he also says that he believes that the reason why the costumes changed was to take advantage of new color TVs. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a show that absolutely was like, hey, you want a color TV, and this is why. Mm-hmm. That's right, Langley, 2001, indeed. Very good.
Yeah. Frank went for a long spacewalk because of how.
Yeah, until 1,000 years later, 3001, he gets defrosted in that Arthur C. Clarke book.
Yeah.
But no, I like, and also, of course, Gary Lockwood, who played Gary Mitchell and Frank Poole, was in Gene Roddenberry's first TV series, The Lieutenant. Have you guys ever watched The Lieutenant?
No.
Not that I can remember.
There are episodes on YouTube, and I've watched a handful of them. For a 60s drama anthology show that was based about the military and pre-Vietnam War kind of, stateside military and stuff. It was good. And Gary was really good in it. Gary Lockwood was really good in it.
So it's like an NCSI.
Kind of, but it wasn't really, there weren't like, constantly, and shame on me, I really don't watch NCIS or any of these other shows. They weren't always looking for murderers necessarily. It was a drama. It was whatever. I'm having marital problems. I'm too much of a hard ass to my men as far as a sergeant or an officer or whatever. But God, even Robert Vaughn was in it and was a regular. So, I
believe it's pronounced Vaugna.
There you go. Langley says he's seen clips like the one with Nichelle Nichols. Yes, that was her first TV gig. First, I believe, on-camera acting gig in general was on The Lieutenant. And that was another one that Louisiana said, what? We're not going to show that. Get that Bob Hope special back up again. We're going to show that.
They must have showed that Bob Hope special a lot.
They really did. So, that's funny. And Weiss says it's got to be wild to watch this show in black and white with a 15-inch screen. Gee, man, you just described my portable television that was in the kitchen that I saw many a Star Trek episode on.
The only thing you left out, Louise, the only thing you left out was the pair of pliers we used to actually change the channels with.
And the rabbit ears that we had to adjust.
Yep, all true.
I remember my dad on the roof of the house turning the antenna and me yelling out the window, okay, it looks good. Leave it there. Try and get the best reception we could.
Sure.
No, we didn't have the antenna. We just had the rabbit ears to try to hope and pray.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, my
Absolutely.
dad got this big antenna. It was like huge, like a 10-foot antenna, like off the top of the house.
Very true. Very true. I want to bring up. It has nothing to do with the episode, but I want to bring up that list that I sent to you guys about Discovery, and the one guy saying these 5 things need to happen for it to be good in the last season.
And number 4 was written by Franco.
Yes.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that in a minute. No, I think it's a great episode. Again, I thought it addressed the problems that NBC had with the cage being too cerebral and not enough action. I think there was good action in this, obviously. Both them trying to break through the Great Barrier, but also the fist fight at the end with Kirk and Gary. You know.
Yeah.
And anyone that has the Blu-rays, the remastered Blu-rays, it's interesting watching, because I did watch this episode in the original broadcast version and in the enhanced digital, and I think both still work for me. But the one thing that's really different is the opening sequence. If you watch the unenhanced version, does not have the opening dialogue from Shatner. It's just the music of the show. So you'll have the cold open. They're playing chess, and then they get them the probe on the ship. It starts transmitting to Spock's terminal, and then it cues to the title sequence, and the title sequence is just music.
That I knew. Yes, that's what you mean. So you're saying it doesn't have Space: The Final Frontier?
It doesn't. But the enhanced version does have Space: The Final Frontier.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought you meant what he says at the beginning of the episode.
No. But it's just that for the enhanced, they actually put in the opening dialogue, like the opening narration for Space: The Final Frontier, and the special effects are great. Like it doesn't take the episode away like what Lucas did with Star Wars.
Yeah,
where Guido, for some strange reason, shot first. It's nothing like that. And if you watch some of the special features, they talk about they wanted to be respectful to the exact timing of when the Enterprise was there. I think they said they only had like 16 shots throughout the entire series was the Enterprise, that they just reused them over and over again.
Yeah.
So they just wanted to still keep the same amount of timing, but let's look at the Enterprise a little differently. Let's shoot it from below. Let's shoot it from above.
Yeah.
But let's do something different, but let's not change it so that it's something totally different like what Lucas did.
The only times that I felt like the enhancements they did on the original series on Star Trek, where I still like it, but like the Galileo 7, when you see it venting the plasma that becomes the beacon that the Enterprise sees, and that's why they go back and rescue them and stuff. That's a little much. It's like green plasma that never ends and stuff. And it's a little, it takes me out a little bit. But no, for the most part, the enhancements they made were quite good. I loved both in the original version and the remastered version, the matte painting of Delta Vega, the planet. That's a great, and obviously they would show it in the closing credits of the first season all the time as well. But
they really cleaned up the print. Like the print looks beautiful.
Yep. Absolutely. No, it's I like the enhancements for the most part. They also did a lot beyond the Galileo 7 episode. Whenever they would show shuttles landing in the shuttle bay or leaving and stuff, those were done a bit better, but yeah, they as Langley says, they really tried to match the style of the original series. Yes. So, and yes, I agree, Louise. Boy, that's another one. The M5 episode, the enhancements of the ships in the M5 Daystrom episode. Definitely. Yeah. When they have war games with Commodore Wesley, Bob Wesley. He's a good man. I know Bob Wesley. He's not going to fire on us if we're weapons are down. He'll know something's wrong. Good stuff. Yeah, again, this is to me one of the better TOS episodes. The one I can't bring myself ever to watch again is the Alternative Factor, with the guy in the one-man spaceship that's the parallel Earths or parallel worlds or universes versions of him. It's a horrible episode. Everybody avoid that episode. It's just the worst. That's funny. Go ahead.
For me, it's the Journey to Eden. That one with the hippies. My God.
Yeah, bro.
Jeez, you can nuke that sucker and take it right out.
It's too bad because that's a Chekhov episode too. That's
I like that in Louisiana they were taking off the Nichelle Nichols Spock kiss, but in Canada they're like, get rid of them hippies. I don't want to see them. Put on the Bob Hope special.
Big problem in Ottawa. Yeah, no, it's put on the Wayne and Schuster.
Wayne and Schuster show. Hey, remember, we legalized it up here first for you guys.
Cannabis?
Yeah, across the country.
Sure. Thank you, Canada. Rosie Schuster.
That episode is just horrible.
Rosie Schuster was Schuster's daughter, and she became one of the original comedy writers on
and Joe Schuster.
Are they related?
His cousin is Wayne Schuster.
Party on, Wayne.
And because Joe is Canadian.
I knew Joe was Canadian. I just didn't know that he was.
Yeah, he's cousins with Wayne Schuster.
Is it Wayne? Because it's Wayne and Schuster, right?
Yeah.
So is
sorry. Johnny Wayne, and Frank. Yeah, it's Frank Schuster.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Johnny Wayne, Frank Schuster.
Langley quoting the way to Eden. Hey, everybody, I'm jumping for joy. I got a clean bill of health from Dr. McCoy. That's exactly right. Hilarious. All right, Chihiro. No, it's he says the lowest one episode for him is when Kirk is ridden around by a little person. That is Plato's stepchildren, sir. So yeah, and the Stephen loved the space hippies. Yeah, hey, Spock jams with the with the space hippies on the Vulcan harp and everything. So
that's right. Freaking hippies is right.
There you go. Right, Art. Very funny. Yeah, and Cloudminders, Chihiro, that was that's the one where they have the people on the planet and they're mining and they get the dust and they're kind of knuckleheads, and the people that live in the Cloud City, they're the superior class and everything. So yeah. All right then. Trying to think. So I mean, again, we know what happens in Where No Man Has Gone Before. It's a classic fight. I like. I do like that moment when they're still on the ship, or no, they're in Delta Vega, and Gary is testing the force field in the brig, and it shocks him, and he gets thrown back into the thing, and his eyes for a second become normal again, and he just really quietly says, "Jim," and it's so sad because it's like, oh, Gary's still in there, but. Yeah. This God thing is taking
Spock
over.
Is ready to take him out.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're gonna kill
rifle.
Mm-hmm. The same thing happens to Sally Kellerman when she gets zapped and she says, "There's not a lot of time." She's in there too, but yeah, she gonna die too. They're all gonna die.
Kept her from completely turning.
Mm-hmm.
So hilarious. There you go. So, and then, they got new uniforms and got more primary colors, and Uhura went, although there are several, well, actually, Uhura is not in this episode. So the regulars that are in this episode, it's Kirk, Spock, Scotty, Sulu. I think that's it.
Yeah, they killed the two people at the con, Mitchell and Lee.
Right. Kelso, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They killed those guys.
And we don't see
Dr. Piper gets replaced.
The doctors gets transferred like Polanski. After season 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Dr. Piper. He's in a couple books here and there. And they explained that another thing that happened off screen, but we've all accepted now as canon, is, McCoy had his divorce. And supposedly that's why Piper was on the Enterprise in a couple of the novels. Instead of McCoy, he was on personal leave taking care of his divorce. Even though in the JJ movies, he got divorced before he joined Starfleet.
She took everything but his bones.
Yeah.
I think that's where he came from.
That's where he gets the nickname.
It's true.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or it could be based on Sawbones, the nickname for doctors.
Yeah, those are the two theories why he calls them Bones. But yeah,
I like the personal story about why
the characterization of Bones is like Dr. Bryce.
Yes,
if you watch the case,
absolutely.
Very much. There's 100%. Very similar in character.
Dr. Boyce, yeah.
Boyce.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's why I was disappointed that Strange New Worlds didn't. I mean, I love that Dr. Mabenga's there because, again, he's only in like 2 or 3 TOS episodes. And usually to fit in more commercials, they always snip his scenes. So every now and then you'll see him in the closing credits. And it's like, wait a minute, was he in that one? I don't remember him being there. He's in the episode, the Vietnam Parable episode where they go to the planet and the Klingons gave rifles to the peaceful natives, the one group of natives, and then Kirk's natives are the other ones.
The Yangs, isn't it?
What's that?
Is that the Yangs and
No. Different one. That's the Omega Glory. So, that's fine. Louise says Bones wore a mean scarf when he visited Yosemite in the Great Star Trek V. Yeah, that's that cravat.
Right.
So, and Lang says, yes, they're going to have to work out where Mabenga went. I don't know. Yeah, Private Little War. Thank you, Chihiro. That's the episode I'm talking about. Because Spock gets injured, and Mabenga is on the ship specifically as a Vulcan
specialist.
Yeah, specialist and stuff that can take care of Spock. So,
well, I think Mabenga. They have to work out where Mabenga went. He went with Elnor somewhere.
Oh no!
They both had lunch together, so they were nowhere near the Excelsior.
I've been working on the buffer of the transporter.
Yeah,
why don't you step in there, Elnor? So.
Well, that's why he left. He was still trying to find his daughter in the buffer zone.
Hi, Daddy. I'm fine. I'm an adult, and you never have to mention me on this show ever again. It's like, all right, great writing. Thank you so much, dumbasses.
You know what happened? They probably watched TNG was playing. That's the Scotty episode, and the writer's going, "That's so cool. We're going to use it for our show."
I have a feeling you're right, sadly. Which is that bummed me out so much because it's like, no, man. Well, they also in Discovery before Strange New Worlds had them write out the asteroid field or some sort of thing where they put the whole crew in the buffer, and it's like, yeah, way to minimize TNG and like one of the best Scotty moments of the franchise and stuff. That's how Scotty figures out, no, we'll stay alive. Don't worry about it. Franklin, I know you're in there. Oh, no, you're degraded. Maybe I can mix you up with Mabenga's daughter. And then Louisiana can really get pissed off.
What if there's a couple of people in there together and then they come out like Brundlefly from...
And they're mixed up with Archer's pet beagle.
That's right.
Because the beagle vanished.
Yeah, well, that's in the Kelvin universe.
How don't we know that Scotty could have done it in Starfleet, playing around with transporters?
I don't know what they're doing.
All anymore. I know is, as Langley pointed out, yes, they should have mixed up 2 people in the transporter, much like the great Tuvix.
Mm-hmm.
Tuvix cracks me up. I loved. Did we talk about this? They when we had the Changeling Tuvok episode, and he was on the Ready Room with Wesley. They spent like 5 minutes talking about Tuvix, and it's like, I know that you're in that episode, but really you weren't Tuvix. That's like, it's a different actor. But I guess people always ask him about the Tuvix episode. Mr. Vulcan, we just melded and became a new person. Ew.
Ew. The Tuvok was in an episode of Poker Face too.
Is he really awesome?
I just saw that episode.
Oh, that's good to know. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's Artie's. Artie just loves saying Chakotay. Chakotay.
Artie's got to watch Prodigy if he wants to watch more Chakotay.
That's true. Well, we'll see what happens in the second season. Hopefully, we'll get more of Chakotay. They'll find him. Hopefully. Didn't he turn down Picard 3?
I thought I read something where they asked Paris, but his schedule didn't work out or something like that. He wanted to be in. They were going to have him in season 2 or 3 or both or something like that.
That makes sense because he is busy. Like even for the Star Trek conventions, they'll have him scheduled, but then he's pulled on a job because he's directing all the time.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was directing. That's awesome.
Oh God, yes, he's huge. He's huge in the genre directing.
Good for him. That's great.
Artie and I met him years ago. There's a picture of us on the back of one of the Patrick the Wolf Boy comics years back when we met him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I've been a fan since Eating Raoul back in the day, years before Voyager.
Not Chakotay, Tom Paris.
Oh, Tom Paris.
Robert Duncan McNeil.
Yes.
Oh, I knew McNeil. I thought you were saying Beltran's busy. I know.
No.
McNeil's
busy as a director. Beltran's not. It's McNeil and Dawson, Rosario Dawson.
Yes,
she directs a lot of them too.
Roxanne
right?
Dawson is huge in directing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No, I knew that. I for some reason I thought you were talking more about Chakotay.
No, he doesn't direct. I'm aware of.
Yes.
It's cool.
He's available for conventions.
I've got this article about Discovery. I'll put it on screen.
Sure.
People can follow along. But yeah, it's they're acknowledging that the show's coming to an end, and this person has some really great ideas of what they need to do to fix the show.
Oh boy, I'm excited to hear these.
I would say number one, cancel it, which that's the top one. Richard Edwards, and this is from space.com. So let's see here. So in March of 2023, Paramount announced Discovery Season 5 will be the show's last. That means the end of the road for the show that brought the franchise back to TV after 12 long years away. And in its best moments, truly pushed the limits of what Star Trek could be. Drinking the Kool-Aid, I see, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
The series started out as a surprisingly dark prequel to Captain Kirk's original adventures, with the crew of the Discovery embroiled in a war with the Klingons. Once a peace treaty was signed, the show's more nostalgic second year added iconic characters like Spock and Captain Pike to the mix. And by the time the season 2 finale came around, the show was ready for an even bigger evolution as Michael Burnham and the rest of the crew permanently relocated to the 32nd century. Unfortunately, what should have been a bold, fresh start in a sector of the Trek timeline unconstrained by existing canon has more frequently felt like a misfire. Really. Held back by a pair of ponderous season-long arc blocks, agreed, the show has never truly got to grips with its new setting. We've only had rare glimpses of the exciting place the Discovery Bridge used to be. I didn't remember it being exciting, but okay. When Season 5 leaves space dock in early 2024, it should therefore be the perfect opportunity for a spot of course correction. Well, first of all, Richard, it's already written and done. All they did, as I understood it, was maybe add on a final scene acknowledging that they're going to wrap things up. So here's what he thinks they ought to do. Get on with exploring the 32nd century.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. Mm-hmm. He says, when the Discovery set coordinates for the 32nd century, it really was going boldly where no Trek had gone before. This is the perfect opportunity to expand the franchise's horizons behind the eras of Enterprise, the original series, and the Next Generation. However, 2 seasons on, and that distant future feels woefully underexplored. I completely agree. Mm-hmm. He's right here, because the opportunity was there for them to really, okay, let's see what this new world is like. And right away, oh, bad news, dilithium doesn't work anymore. So we can't travel.
It's like what you brought up. What happened to the Klingons? What happened to the Cardassians, the Ferengi? There's so much that they could have gone to.
Well, in the Cardassians case, Kim Kardashian, she became a lawyer. And now I think she rules the 32nd.
Yeah, she's a lawyer?
Yeah. She's like a furry Wookiee, isn't she?
Yeah.
With a big butt.
Ooh,
let's see. He says, while Discovery had reveled in the chance to show us tech beyond our wildest imaginations, from portable transporters to shape-shifting starships, there has to be more to the future than a few fancy gadgets. Where are the strange new worlds, the new life, and the new civilizations? As you just said, Wayne, what about the lineup of aliens still dominated by usual suspects like Vulcans, Orions, Andorians, Cardassians, Ferengi, and Trill?
Oh, my.
The 1,000 years later, the Ferengi evolved. And I'd like to give my usual imitation of a Ferengi on Star Trek Discovery. For those listening rather than watching, all I did was open my mouth and say nothing, because that's what the Ferengis do as background actors on Discovery. Hey, they're there. They're not saying anything, but they're
counting
there.
their Latinum from all their Quark franchises.
Yeah, in their head. All right, I agree with this one. Don't get too hung up on a big story arc. When Discovery brought Trek back to television the first time since Enterprise was canceled in 2005, serialization was undoubtedly the way to go. Vast, complex story arcs have made shows like Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, the dominant force on TV, and this new iteration of Trek needed to follow suit if it was going to be taken seriously. I disagree with that. I do understand that that was the current trend, but that said, you still had procedurals that absolutely were episode of the week, problem of the week. Name your favorite police procedural. Some of these other shows as well that had maybe ongoing character story arcs, but essentially they were problem of the week. And I don't think Star Trek was obligated to go that way.
Those fire ones, like Rob Lowe's in.
Right. 911, Chicago Med, Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
Yep. All those. 6 years, however, the show has earned the right to lean into the story of the week structure of the original series and Next Generation. Strange New World's success has been built on the strength of its standalone series. There's no reason why Discovery can't follow a similar path, especially as with 900 years of canon between them, there's little danger of Captain Burnham treading on Captain Pike's toes. Both of Discovery's seasons in the 32nd century have strained to sustain their big plots. First, the burn, then the dark matter anomaly over an entire season. Surely it would be better to keep up the serialization light, concentrating on telling brilliant sci-fi stories without the pressure of building up some massive season-ending event. That said, we'll be disappointed if Season 5 doesn't tie into the even more distant future of the short Trek episode Calypso. Remember that episode?
Yeah, because the Discovery was sent somewhere, and the person found it.
Yeah, and the crew was not on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that will be interesting to see what they do with that. Very good point. Ironically written by Michael Chabon, who, as much as I love his writing normally, I completely disagree with most of his Star Trek instincts. And then they said, this one is a good one. Have someone else solve 32nd century problems.
Except Michael Burnham?
Oh, look, by the way, picture of Tilly.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing that for Franco's sake. The crew of Discovery are a whopping 900 years away from home. Just to put that in perspective, that's the equivalent of pulling a knight out of the Crusades, plonking them into our present, and expecting them to be experts on social media. In other words, Burnham and company should be so far out of their comfort zone that they're permanently grounded by Starfleet, yet for some reason they're consistently the smartest people in the room.
Well, according to this guy in the article, like they wouldn't even have a show then. You know,
I would suggest, Franco, honestly, that no, they're being taught about their new environment, and while they're there, maybe some problems creep up. But no, it's funny. He says the Crusades. I said the Vikings. It's like, yeah, being a Viking and suddenly.
What you could have is you could have a counselor from the 32nd century with them,
right,
and guide them through it, because they're still the training wouldn't change too much over the centuries for Starfleet. The technology would, but not the training.
Yeah, it would change.
Wayne, respectfully, I think it would change as well.
Yeah. From an educational standpoint.
It's 1,000 years in the future. Yeah. You know, again, the Viking example. Why don't we get our broad ships to go in the right direction and sacrifice a few goats to Thor? No, that's not going to work. That's cute, but that was 900 years ago or whatever, you know. Yeah, I don't know. And as Langley says, yeah, they haven't even addressed the issue. They have no problems with the distant future. Well, they had in season 3, you saw Detmer, Eyepiece Lady, kind of freaking out a bit about being, you know, away from home and everybody's dead and, you know, not understanding.
But, you know, yeah, along with my theory of Elnor being sick that day and not being on the ship when it was destroyed, if we go along that line of thinking, I think evolution-wise, maybe the galaxy hasn't gone anywhere in the 900 years that you know Burnham and company went there. So maybe they're just fine. Everybody's fine. Everything's just the same.
No, I don't believe that, but whatever.
Sure, why not?
And also, they did have a little bit of futuristic tech when they first finally made it back to Starfleet, and they showed various things. And also, the most ridiculous being, hey, look, the nacelles can split off the ship.
Yeah.
For what purpose? We don't know. We just thought it looked cool. Thank you. Excellent idea. Outstanding.
Okay, the battle bridge on the Enterprise D makes sense because it was the Galaxy class was not just Starfleet; it was also families separated off. Mm-hmm. The families go off to safety while the battle bridge goes in and fights.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And also, if they ever went back in time, the saucer section would look like a UFO, so that'd be cool.
Yep.
Thank you. Langley, yes, one of the tech things they did was programmable matter. What it was, they didn't play with it much. Sounds cool. All right, great. And Lang says, I would love to see some kind of out there piece of tech that the crew can't even comprehend. Absolutely, man. Again, that would make sense. All right, here's number 4. This is
like the three seashells in Demolition Man. Or,
right?
Yeah.
He doesn't know about the three
He doesn't know how to use the seashells.
Good stuff. Number 4 for him is get Sylvia Tilly and Jet Reno in as many episodes as possible.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
There they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes!
A whole episode with just the 2 of them.
The Mirror Universe amoral Emperor Giorgio stole every scene she was in before the Guardian of Forever sent her back in time in Terra Firma Part 2. Discovery hasn't been the same since. The wisecracking Sylvia Tilly and permanently sarcastic engineer, I would call her insubordinate, Jet Reno, have done their... Well, it's true. No, I don't, because, again, it's the military, and you can't get away with, kiss my ass, Captain. Hey, just kidding. Whatever. It's like... okay. I mean, it's Tig Notaro being Tig Notaro, and if you're going to hire her, you want her to be Tig Notaro, so I totally get that.
Maybe in season 5 she'll change, just like Spock was yelling in this first episode.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's going to... I hope she's there. I wonder if she's going to be there in season 5. I don't know. I think it's a foregone conclusion that if not in every episode, Tilly's going to show up. But that's me.
Hot.
With the return for Giorgio looking unlikely, Michelle Yeoh's hot property after her Oscar win, and she's busy with the new Section 31 movie. Discovery needs to pull out all the stops to get Tilly and Reno on screen as much as possible. Without them, this final season could be quite the slog. And then 5 is embrace the no-win scenario. There's Book and Burnham. If the shock death of Lieutenant Tasha in The Next Generation taught us anything, it's that exploring the final frontier is dangerous. Not that you would know from watching recent seasons of Discovery, where everybody, with the exception of the villains Osira and Ruan Tarka, tend to make it out alive. I would say, Richard, you're forgetting about Robot Girl, who also was killed off in season 2. It's all about you, Michael. It's all about you. Of course it is, because these people have no.
She got recast as another member. She didn't really leave.
Yeah, I know, and she. And I understand if that makeup was it's like what's his face Hemner on Strange New Worlds, that the makeup was really like screwing him up. So, and I'm sure the same was for Robot Girl, who then became cute little blonde crew member, who again we still don't know her name. Well done, Discovery. Good job. Another bridge crew person, we have no idea.
You know what we're missing?
What?
For 6, more grunge. We need more cat.
Yeah.
Oh,
that cat could fly a starship. She flew Book's ship.
Yeah.
I love this. Some comments about Tilly and Jet Reno. So that's great.
I don't agree. Yes, more Tilly, more. Yeah.
Well, as Langley says, I'm with you, Franco. Tilly's ass may be insubordinate, but what an ass. And Tilly wasn't really insubordinate. So that's fine. And then, yes, Langley points out they foolishly tried killing Dr. Culber and then they brought him back. Yes.
Yeah.
whatever.
Still don't like Discovery. Still.
No.
Still.
Oh, come on. It's only one more season of 10 episodes.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna hate watch every single episode too.
Yeah, but then we're gonna get like the Aftermath Discovery, which is Starfleet Academy, and also even you could say that about the Section 31 movie. I wonder if Ash Tyler, the Klingon double agent that fell in love with Michael, I wonder if he's going to be in the Section 31 movie.
Oh, no. But isn't Tilly going to be in the Academy?
Academy.
They haven't announced it, but I think it's a foregone conclusion because that's where her character went, and that's what they're doing is focusing on that 32nd Century Academy and stuff. I don't know. It's what we'll see. I mean, hey, please, Star Trek, prove me wrong. I would be thrilled to be, much like when Franco corrects me on something. I am happy to be wrong. It does, and I'm still rooting for it. But I don't know, this Section 31 movie. I don't know. Is it going to? The question is, when the Guardian of Forever took her out of the future, did he put her back in the 22nd century, or the Kirk century, or the original Discovery century, or is she going to wind up in the 25th century? I don't know. Because someone's like, wouldn't it be great if they made a Section 31 movie and it was an excuse to bring Julian Bashir back? I'm totally for that. That'd be great. So, this is interesting. And I hear you, Langley. He's waiting to see how Kurtzman tries to downplay Picard season 3's success. I can't imagine he's pro Metalis. It's interesting because I guess, they had the IMAX thing of episodes 9 and 10, and they had a big Q&A afterwards with Metalis and Kurtzman and the crew and everything, the cast. And Metalis there, or rather Kurtzman about Metalis, was very complimentary. It's like, this is the right guy to do this kind of show. He's such a fan of Star Trek and blah, blah, blah. So he said all the right things there. But I also can see him being like they didn't expect, I think, the success and popularity of season 3 and these other things like the 31 movie and Starfleet Academy were well into production. So the podcast just released a very interesting 15 minutes where they say, oh no, Star Trek Legacy is going to happen. It just may not happen until 2025 or something and also probably won't be a full 10 episode season or even a commitment to multiple seasons, but maybe we'll see some movies. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just think, the comment that you made that they were surprised about the success of season 3, I could see that to a point, but every time you go into one of these things and you're writing a series or writing an episode, you're trying to do your best.
Yeah.
You're hoping that it goes over well. But ultimately, you don't know. I mean, I've written some stuff that I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Everybody's going to love it. And people are like, meh, and then other stuff that I thought was like, this will be all right. Turns out to be the stuff that, people bring up and like and stuff like that. So it's a hard nut to crack.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, I just think, again, both Akiva Goldsman and Kurtzman were going on to other things. They were stuck with this commitment of, well, we need a season 3 of Picard, but they didn't want to spend as much money. And again, that always happens in TV. The budget keeps going down a little bit. And, they needed somebody to do it. And here, Terry, you do it. And, and again, I'm sure they supervised what happened. And I also, another thing in what you're saying, Franco, is I just think it was a foregone conclusion that at some point post-Picard, we were going to get a Seven and Raffi show with the amount of time they've spent in all 3 seasons putting them together. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is that they killed Shaw, because I really wanted to see a Shaw show.
Well, apparently Metalis and Todd Stashwick have been saying, oh, believe me, we've got ways of bringing him back if you want to bring him back.
Yeah.
Hey, it could be part of that whole Project Phoenix thing that they teased on the Section 31 base with all the super secret weapons, and that's the Kirk remains were there under the Project Phoenix thing. so they could take Shaw's DNA and possibly bring him back that way if they really wanted to. It's interesting. I mean, again, I agree with you. I wish they hadn't killed him because I liked his character arc, and I think he would have been a very interesting character to follow. But based on his character backstory, he's just another captain. I don't know. I mean, 36 successful missions, as he says, with the Titan. But was he that much of a valuable asset to Starfleet that they would want to resurrect him?
Yeah, I was going to say, as you said that, I was thinking you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing with Pike and these guys, where you go back and tell the backstory of these things, because Shaw wouldn't have that much of a backstory because he was by the book kind of guy. You would want to tell stories of him going forward from there. So
yeah, and I think obviously during the season he was taking risks. God, I had forgotten. I was rewatching the third season, and I believe it's in episode in 3 when Vadic's ship has the Beverly ship, totally like in the tractor beam or whatever. Shaw shows up in the Titan and totally like rams their ship out of the way and everything, breaking the link with the tractor beam.
Nope.
So, yeah, it's whatever.
Well, he got convinced because of
7.
Yeah, 7. There was something that she said. And then boom, he did it. Because he wasn't going to cross. He wasn't going to go in at all. But there was something that she said to convince him to go in and save them.
It also begs the question, yeah, I'm sorry you put that up, but it also begs the question, why was he so, so hands-off or, keeping at arm's distance 7, calling her by her human name and not her 7 of 9 name, but, she's second in command of the ship. Is that Starfleet or is that him? He has to have some say in it.
Well, that's what confused me too. And I know early on, I thought we had that conversation as well. And I'm assuming that
Janeway.
Maybe it was Janeway and them kind of saddled him with 7. But then again, we get the performance review, which was made, I think, before the incidents that happened here in season 3.
Because he was alive. Yeah.
Well, that goes without saying. But also, he's like, hey, she'd make a great captain.
And I don't think you get to choose your first officer, because if you go back to Next Gen, they went to pick up Riker. Picard had no idea who this guy was.
That's true.
So I think
that's true.
It's not like the Orville where you sort of get to pick and choose your
okay,
your
why do we continually bring up that show? I don't understand why we do that.
Which one? Encounter at Farport?
Orville.
Oh, the Orville, yeah.
Well, it's the other Trek show.
Oh boy.
As opposed to Galaxy Quest, exactly.
Yeah. But no, I think if it's a true military, you don't get to choose who your officers are.
Is that what happened when you were in the Canadian Air Force, Wayne?
I can't divulge what happened then.
He'd have to come down here and kill you.
Yeah, I did sign a couple of NDAs that I can not talk about it ever again. But
Wayne
I'm not allowed to fly. That's all I can say.
Wayne Rousseau, secret Mountie.
Pretty much.
Are they? How many are there Mounties all over the place still in Canada?
Yes, the Mounties are like our FBI. Like your FBI is like our Mounties are your FBI. They have the federal jurisdiction across the country.
I like it.
Yeah,
I learned something new today.
Yeah, we have our provincial police, which are like your state police.
Langley says you signed an NDA.
Hey,
nice.
And we signed it back in the old days when we had the stubbies.
Nice. I thought there was more Star Trek news this week. What else did they talk about? I don't know. I mean, everyone's still buzzing about how good the season was.
Jack Crusher is going to be appearing at Star Trek Las Vegas. That was announced this week.
I saw something or read something where he said he'd love to play Jack Crusher for the next 15 years or something like that. He said.
Hey, it's a fun part. And the only thing, they got to give him a better rank than special counselor or whatever the hell 7 says.
That works out perfect.
No,
he got no responsibilities.
Well,
that's,
yeah, exactly.
That's the perfect job to get. You're a special advisor to somebody.
Yeah.
You have no responsibilities.
Exactly.
He rides.
All right, I'm going to be working on the transporter. All right, I'm going to be working in engineering. All right, I'm going to be working in the phasers. I'll be in the holodeck if anybody needs me.
Yeah, he gets a ride on the short Enterprise to work.
That's right.
Oh, Mario, I'm glad you mentioned this. I think I mentioned it last week. The documentary series, The Center Seat, was awesome. It's on Amazon, and it came out on DVD this week. I'm sure I mentioned it last week. But yeah, it's fantastic. It's a great series. Very funny. Gates did a great job narrating it. It's really well made.
Yeah, I can listen to Gates talk all the time.
Yeah, her podcast is really good too.
She pods? That shouldn't be a shock. Everybody pods.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much.
We should have him on our show.
You're going to see in Vegas as a podcast, I think.
We should invite one of the Star Trek people on our show, since we do a show about Star Trek.
I would. Well, we'll have the opportunity when we see them at Terrificon.
Oh yeah.
And maybe we'll get one of them to be willing to come on our show.
Well, you're good buddies with Jonathan Frakes. I'm sure you'd come on.
One conversation, 2 conversations. I look forward to seeing him again. I hope he's not afraid of me. I'm your number 1 fan. So, yeah, we'll see. Again, I'm very interested to see what happens. I do think that both not only in TV and film, but also the potential for better novels and more interesting novels about the next generation veterans, what we were left with and where those stories could go. Oh, I was going to say too, isn't it interesting? And I, if I were Paramount, I would look at the success of Star Trek Picard, and much like when the original series guys and women were making their movies, and the first movie, they spent so much money on, and it did make its money back, and it was a profitable film. But, they brought in Harv Bennett, who was from Paramount's TV division. And it's like, oh, yeah, I can, give me $40 million. I can make like 5 movies with $40 million. And I would say they should really think about letting, not necessarily Kurtzman, but letting Metalis make Star Trek movies. Not just for the streamer, but instead of trying to make another Chris Pine and Zach Quinto Star Trek, Kelvin universe movie, I'd go to these guys. I really would. I think it would work better. So that's me. Langley says he watched Brent Spiner on Mike Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast. It was interesting. I didn't know he grew up in Texas with the Quaids. I didn't. Yeah, he said he was really good friends with Randy Quaid. Crazy Quaid. Well, so, and Louise says would love to get some Wharf Enterprise E episodes. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That was not my fault.
That was
I like the weapons array on the E better. Yeah.
The E was the Sovereign class?
Yes. E was
because it's smaller.
Yes. Well, and again, I forget what I was watching, but they were talking about how the E was made for the next gen movies, post Generations, obviously. But it's like, it was fine. But there's no love for it the way there is for NC 1701 that's behind Franco, and even the D,
the Constitution class.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there you go. We could be done. That's.
I think we are. I think we beat that horse to death. Yeah.
So should we talk? Do you want to talk more TOS, or do you want to do a next gen episode next?
See, if you're going to go in order, your next episode should be the animated series.
I would be thrilled to talk about the animated series. What do you think, Franco?
I got nothing else to do anymore.
We could talk, and we don't even have to go specifically on one episode. We could talk about there's only 17, I think, episodes, or 22 episodes in general.
Yeah, we can't because I haven't seen all of them. I still have to watch.
But I'm saying, like, in general, you can just take your favorite moments from things. To me, the obvious animated episode to talk about is Yesteryear, because it was written by DC Fontana. It's about Spock. It's the Guardian of Forever. It's ironic that that's the episode that Roddenberry's like, oh, no. The animated series isn't in canon. And it's like, We all love it. It's like, no, shut up, Gene. As far as we're concerned, that's Spock's backstory, to the point where there are callbacks in the 2009 Kelvin movie of Spock's childhood that very much take from that. How many episodes?
More Tribbles?
Sure.
That's actually yesterday. Yeah.
There's the counterclock incident where we see Robert April.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, we're doing the animated episode right now.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of them, so I got to watch them.
Steve says, "I wish they could move forward with a next generation series, new ship, new cast, etc." Yeah, and he's right. They reference it in Enterprise too, right? Spock's Sailot. Yeah. And you find out T'Pol also had a Sailot.
Yeah, because they talk about it in Journey to Babel, the big fuzzy teddy bear with 6-inch fangs.
Right.
And then it's referenced. It'd be cool. I think if you're going to go in order, next would be the animated series.
I'm for it. All right, so should we talk about yesteryear next time?
Sure.
It's only 20 minutes long, Franco. It's easy to watch. And there's a lot of, I don't even want to get into it now because there are a lot of great wrinkles to yesteryear through the nature of the story itself. So
it's supposed to rain here in New York all weekend, so maybe I'll just watch all of them. We'll see.
Hilarious. We should acknowledge the guy who made the Next Generation animated little 3-minute clips that he put on YouTube. Those are so great. So great. Very, very funny. All right, so yeah, next time we'll talk about yesteryear.
Okie dokie.
That works for me.
Somebody tell Mitch.
We'll tell Mitch. Don't worry about it. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Good questions, good comments. And I hope you enjoyed it. I guess we didn't have much to say about Where No Man Has Gone Before, but it's good. I like it.
We said a lot about it.
Yeah, we did all right. Yeah. We did fine. Okay, everybody. Until next time, live long and prosper. Take it easy.